welcome everyone to the recap stream, our monthly summarization of all the stuff that happened on Resonite. I'm Fruxius, I'm here with Bob, our finance officer, with Drew from our team, Aegis from our team, Nex who's doing the live streaming, and also Karoma from marketing. And today we'll be kind of covering stuff that happened in the past month, during the month of September on Resonite. So, once we're also done through the topics, Bob will be hosting the business office hours, so we can learn a little bit more about business, how the finances, how stuff is kind of going, and afterwards you'll be able to ask us any questions on the stream. So for the remainder of the stream, we'll be able to answer any questions you might have. With that, we should be able to get started. There's been a number of things. One of the notable things on the development side is we've done improvements to the Cloudflare integration, which we are using to store assets. One of our engineering team's members, Gadley, he made a number of tweaks because we had reports of various users, in using specific ISPs, had trouble loading assets, things would load really slow, and it would kind of hard to get into worlds because of that. With the tweaks, those problems are pretty much resolved because we're now using Cloudflare CDN, which caches the assets locally, closer to you, which not only helps those pathological scenarios where, things will load extremely slow, but even if things were already loading, pretty fast, it helps improve the speed as well. And we even had users doing measurements on gigabit connections and maxing them out and having things load really fast. So those improvements have hugely helped, across the board. What's also a really cool thing with that is it actually lowers the cost on our end because now the actual storage where the assets are stored has a lot fewer requests, which helps save on the cost because those requests are now handled by the CDN. There's also a number of other small improvements. We'll be going over them in the next topics. But we also have another announcement. We have announced our plans for a new renderer. This is sort of a long-term project. It's not something we're immediately starting to actually implement, but typically when we work on new features, there's actually a lot of preparation for it. We need to do research, we need to do sort of planning, and usually it kind of happens slowly while other things are being actively implemented. With the renderer, since we finished the splitting and introduced the new architecture where the Unity renderer is essentially a separate process from the main Flux engine, which helped dramatically improve the performance. We saw a lot of people in the community making custom renderers by using the protocol that Flux engine uses to communicate to the renderer, and essentially replacing the Unity renderer that we use right now with one, for example, made in Godot and made in other engines. So that made us think there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of community efforts, and we kind of want to lean into that and essentially have you, the community, help us find a new official renderer. Now, in order to do that, when we approach developing Resonite, we are very methodical about it, because we have a number of priorities, and one of those is making sure the architecture is clean. It's very easy to maintain, and we also maintain content compatibility, meaning anything that's made on the platform, we will put a lot of effort making sure it keeps working and kind of stays as it is, without breaking, without having users remake their content. We also have a number of feature plans. So while all of the community renders focus on matching what the renderer is doing right now, when we want to pick a new renderer, some of the criteria we'll be using are also future requirements. New features that we want to add, for example, custom shaders. And we need certain, we need the render to approach things a certain way, make sure it can accommodate, for our future plans. So in order to give things a bit more structure, we announced a 4-phase plan. There's 4 phases. We currently started the phase 1. And in that phase, we're essentially compiling all the requirements. So it's sort of like, getting a list of all the features that we need the new render to have. Those features cover both existing things. So for example, we needed to support all the stuff that this current render is doing right now. And in order to make sure we can evaluate it properly, we need to document them. We need to write them down and be like, okay, we have this feature, we have this feature has, these sub features and these behaviors. So we have it all documented, and kind of like, on paper. With this phase, we've also asked, we kind of started with like a list of requirements, but we also asked the community, is there anything missing? Do you feel anything should be added to this list? Do you feel anything should be changed? And we already had like a good number of contributions, some things that we kind of missed, some things like, future wants and needs. So if you'd like to contribute to that phase, check out our Discord announcement, which links to a GitHub topic, and there's a discussion. You can find, all the detailed information. This phase will probably go for a while. We're kind of running it, in parallel with like other things we are actually actively developing. This lets people, everyone gives everyone like enough time to sort of like, look at it, go, back and forth, figure out, is this like a good set of, requirements that we want to have, and make sure we haven't missed anything major. Once this first phase finishes, we're going to move to the phase 2, where we're actually going to start actively looking at candidates. So, for example, we look at lots of different renders. We can look at the Godot, we can look at Bevy, Stripe, Holger. There's lots of different renders we could look at. But now we'll have the list from phase 1, and we can check, does this render support all the things we needed to support? And we can document that. We can document what is missing in the renderer. But also we can figure out, if a feature is missing, is it something the render is currently working on? Or is it something, they're not planning at all? Would it be easy to add? And, we're essentially going to get a list together of candidates, as well as their pros, cons, and how well they match our list of requirements from the phase 1. Once this phase begins, we also be kind of, asking everyone to kind of like, help look at the candidates, figure out like, do some like research for each one of them. Once we have like enough information, we will make the final decision, which render do we want to go with. And that will conclude the second phase. We're going to make the decision ourselves based on all the information compiled from the community, because we want to feel out what is a good choice to kind of support like, long term. Because once we pick a new official render, we're probably going to stay with it for a while, so we want to be very confident in that choice. Once we make the pick, we're going to move to phase 3. And this phase, this is probably going to be a longer one as well, and also one that will probably benefit from, help from everyone in the community the most. Because as part of phase 3, any features that the renderer is missing that we need, we'll need to implement those. So for example, say we pick a renderer, but the renderer currently doesn't support reflection probes. There will be a feature that we'll need to make sure the renderer has before we can integrate it. So as part of phase 3, all the missing features will have to be implemented, ideally through upstream contributions to the renderer, so we can make a contribution to the renderer itself that will benefit, everyone else using that renderer. That would be like, the ideal way to do it. It's also like a great way, help the development, because if you're skilled with render development and you want to take a stab at like implementing things, it'll help spread out some of the workload and also allow us to kind of focus, keep focusing on some other features for Resonite itself. Once all the features that are missing are actually implemented in the renderer and merged, we can finish the phase 3 and move to the phase 4. The phase 4 will most likely be handling majority of it ourselves, and the phase 4 is kind of like, when this endeavor is gonna become pretty much our next main priority. But it'll make like all the phases before it essentially make sure that the phase 4 will go as smoothly and as fast as it can. Because in phase 4, we'll do the actual integration with Flux Engine, and swap out the current Unity render for whichever new one we have chosen. Once this phase is complete, we'll be done pretty much. Like, we'll have a brand new render, we'll be completely independent of Unity. We'll likely have like lots of new benefits, because one of the benefits of like a new render is we can go with something more modern. For example, a render that's using the Vulkan like API, which is like our ideal one, which has much better performance. So there'll be like performance improvements. We want a render that supports ideally clustered forward pipeline, which allows a little more efficient rendering of lots of lights in the scene. And that is more lightweight than the deferred pipeline that we're currently using. Another benefit of that one is also it will support multi-sampling for anti-aliasing, which will help fix a lot of the jagged lines and other issues. But also, once we have the new render, we'll be able to work on new features like the custom shaders. So they'll open door to lots of new improvements in the future as well. But right now, we're still in the first phase. The phase is going to be open for a bit. We're kind of taking the slower and methodical approach. And if you want to contribute, again, you can click the link in our announcements on Discord. We might also get the link maybe in the chat. Read through the instructions, read through the planning, and feel free to participate in discussion. We already had lots of good comments there, lots of good things pointed out. So we're quite happy about starting this process. Also, I should mention, one of the things about the new render is because we're going to be going with open source renders, the new render that we'll be using officially for Resonite is also going to be open source, which has additional benefits. If there are any bugs with the render, for example, we can actually contribute community bug fixes and help spread out more workload. Or if you want to make changes that maybe we wouldn't merge officially, you can make your own forks of it, and essentially giving everyone a lot more control over how Resonite works, at least on the render side. So we're very excited about this one. It's probably gonna be a longer project that runs in parallel with other priorities, but it'll make sure that we essentially maximize how much we can get out of the development time, provide a way for you to help with Resonite's development and its future. If you've got any questions, also feel free to ask at the end of this stream, once you open questions, or just ask in the GitHub topic, in the GitHub discussion. We're happy to answer any questions you might have about this project. This should cover pretty much everything important about this one, and we can move on to the next slide, which covers all the cool improvements from the art team. So I'm gonna hand it over to Aegis to tell us about those from the art team. So I'm gonna hand it over to Aegis to tell us about those.
Of that, so throughout the month of October and also beginning of this month, we have been working on multiple different things, some client work for businesses as well as some things for the community as well. To start off with the new stamp book that was created for the block party that RustyBot made. They're working on a updater tool, kind of like a pedestal you put on it, and it will optimize it for you to a newer version, as well as they are making a newer version of the stamper tool for an upcoming another block party. More details later. Pretty much the model for it is already modeled out. The things for it is going to be set up soon. Alongside it, with the end of the Halloween event last time, there have been progress on the new Halloween badge as well too. I've managed to pick up the new skill of learning Inkscape to create these. There's still some variants I want to work on and kind of experiment out, but it's fun so far, trying to figure out how it works and figuring out something for the community, for all those that participated. As well as in relation to our business client work, one of the main systems that we actually use every week, which is the meeting system, has been worked on as well too, with new improvements to it. Things like new features, new ways to kind of made easier to learn the different features of the system, as well as more documentation for it as well. As well as right behind me on the stream slide there is that is spawned from an idea that Theo, part of the media team, thought of, is a new addition to our merch selection, and that is Protoflux stickers. Now, with the help of both Chroma and Rue, they have started working on those as well, with multiple different packs for different specific nodes or wires even as well. So that'll be definitely neat to check out in the future once they're fully set up. And definitely be more like merch stuff made over time when we get the chance to do it too. Be really cool to see what we come up with and what folks would like to see on there too. Be good to receive feedback. And other than us kind of like in between projects since the splitting as well, we're going to start shifting our gears towards working on some interesting fun projects next too. And I know one of them is definitely something that you're looking forward to working on too.
Yes.
The Apollo Reconstructed project.
Yes. There's a project I really wanted to do for a long while. I've been actually kind of working on it on the side as well. There's not really much to announce it, and I kind of want some things to be a surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been one of those things I've been kind of waiting to be able to work on for a long time, and I feel now it's really a good time to do it. But more about it it's gonna be coming so when it's ready.
Details over time, yeah. And that pretty much covers that. Now, going over to what's happening across Resonite itself. I know Krumba would like to. You good on covering that?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So it's been an eventful month, past 30-something days. So, quick announcement, we do plan on having a block party coming up on November 23rd. Keep an eye out for more announcements on that on our announcements channel. Big thank you to The Bloody Rush for their video sponsored that came out earlier this month. Thank you to everyone who came out to our BLFC meetup last month, and to our Halloween party last month, where we had a total of 448 users in attendance. The badge for that will be coming out soon, the one that Aegis was just showing off. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. We also have a picture of the Halloween party world up there, in case you didn't attend. I believe we're going to be reusing that world for future events, so keep an eye out for that. That's about it, so I guess I'll hand it over to Tom for business and finance.
Definitely check out the video.
Yeah, Bloody Rage made a really cool video.
Yeah. You get to go, Bob?
Yeah, yeah, hey everyone, glad to be here for another recap stream. It's month 2 of my imprisonment in Vienna. I'm being force-fed daily rations of schnitzel and subjected to grueling death marches around the beautiful historic architecture. I've also been subjected to sleep deprivation torture by being forced to stay up late for recap streams. My sentence is only 90 days before being deported from the Shenzhen zone, so wish me luck for the next 2 months. Anyway, let's hop into the first slide showing the size of our user base and new user acquisition over the past 6 months. The past 3 months have seen consistently higher than historical averages, but what is happening under the hood is we're also having a chunk of players returning to the platform with renewed enthusiasm. Overall, we're seeing about a 50% increase in daily and active concurrent users, largely compared to pre-splitting. We've been releasing a number of social media influencer videos the past few months, including another amazing Rush video yesterday. If you haven't seen it, totally check it out, like, comment, etc. Getting the message out is a great way to help Resonite, but the number one thing each of you can do as part of the Resonite community is to keep welcoming new players. Focus on getting players orientated quickly and then shifting to having fun inside exciting worlds and playing with new toys. Let's go to the next slide where we have the 6-month breakdown of our business to consumer revenue. See, we are having my favorite number improve. Fees are continuing to drop while B2C revenue holds stable, resulting in more net income. Additionally, shout out to Godly for putting in server improvements that have been lowering our server costs, further increasing our net income. While this graph is showing the B2C revenue, after the splitting, we received numerous business inquiries by research institutions and corporations in the US, Europe, and Asia. Some of those deals are actually starting to close, and we're really excited in the bump to in B2B revenue. A more holistic report will occur in the new year once we've closed out our 2025 books, so stay tuned. All right, let's move on to the next slide where we're covering the percentages of our subscriber bases. There's been a steady march upward of revenue from Patreon moving to Stripe and PayPal. We've crossed the 40% threshold. But unfortunately, we're not going to be hitting the 50% mark by the end of the year. I think something happened to the percentages on that slide. Anyway, but we're up to like 42% right now. I was hoping to break 50% by the end of the year, but at least most of the higher tier members have made the transition. Oddly enough, we still have 52 accounts that are still using the retired pre-launch tiers. So I guess once it's set, it's kind of difficult to get people to move. Please do continue to encourage others to make the transition if possible. All right, so let's move on to the last slide. I wanted to point out that while Resonite has been going to CES over the past few years, this year we have plans within plans within plans for some fun things. If you plan on going to CES 2026 in January, stay tuned for some announcements. If you are representing businesses and want to interact with us in a professional manner, please email business@yellowdogman.com or fill out the contact form, and we will schedule a meeting or invite you to an industry event that we will be attending. Okay, everyone, that's all I have for now. We will finish out the year strong and report wonderful successes early next year.
Thank you very much, Bob. So with this, that covers all of our topics for the live stream. So we can now open this to questions. Let me see how much time we have. We still have a good chunk of time. We have like 35 minutes. So if you got any questions you would like to ask us, make sure to post them in the chat on the Twitch. Main thing, so we can pick up the question. Make sure there's a question mark. That way it kind of pops on our thing. And we don't miss it, as the chat kind of goes. With that, we should be able to get started. So the first, we have Resonite app asking, what up? The recap stream is. Next question is from Phoenix Bird Creature. They're asking, comfy IK when? I figured probably one thing the IK rework, there's also another things that's pretty much high on the priority list for us because we want people to feel comfortable, and our goal is to essentially replace the IK system, because currently we're using a port of the final IK, which is not the best fit for Resonite. So we're going to be replacing with a custom system that's designed to address a lot of the issues people are having, things that are making people feel not comfortable in their avatars, especially even when using full body, and just generally making kind of more powerful and more aligned with how Resonite is operating. So it's kind of easier to work with, do and set up your avatars or make modifications to them. We generally don't do one questions, especially for kind of public-facing features, because there's a lot of kind of unknowns. It's probably going to be in the upcoming months. Beyond that, we don't have any more specific kind of dates. So, but stay tuned is definitely one of the things that's kind of high on the priority list that we want to improve. Next question is from the Walker Walks. They're asking, do you plan on making a more user-friendly experience for desktop users? So yeah, we do have a number of improvements. There actually is a video on our YouTube channel covering a lot of the improvements we want to do to make the desktop UI be easier to use. If you go to our YouTube channel, check out the videos and just like search type desktop and the video should pop up. In short, it kind of depends actually a little bit on what exactly do you mean by user-friendly for desktop users? Because it can mean a lot of different things. And while we do have a number of plans, it still helps us to understand, what does that mean to you? What about the current desktop experience are you finding unfriendly? Because the better we can understand it, the better, similar with UI, the more we can understand what frustration points you're hitting, the better, we can redesign it. And again, we're not looking specifically, for it to be do this thing, to fix it, but more this is what's frustrating me with it. This is the issue I'm kind of hitting. This is what I want to do, and this is currently not serving that purpose well. Designing, fixes for that, that's one of the things we do, and the more information that we have, the easier the job is for us. In this topic specifically, it, for example, depends, do you mean it more user-friendly for just general socializing, just kind of going around, interacting with things? Or do you mean, for example, for editing? Because there's a number of things we want to do there, where, for example, if you work with inspectors, one of the things we want to do is we can pin that inspector, to the window. You can kind of split your workspace, similar to how you do in Unity or Blender, and make it a lot easier to use while building stuff in desktop. But if you're asking more for socializing, there's a number of things we want to do there as well. But depends on what your specific issues are. So if you want to ask more clarifying questions, feel free. We can delve a little bit deeper, what our plans are. But generally, yes, we want to make it better over time. Chicken Fox Otter, I know it's too early to make a decision, but are there any renders you'd be happy to see make it closer selection? There's a few, but the main thing is for us is, will it fit our requirements? So we don't want to get too attached to any particular choice. We definitely prefer ones, for example, the Godot one might be an interesting one because there's a lot of a lot of community movement behind it and a lot of community efforts. So that one, if it's a good fit, I feel that it would be a really good choice, because if it's if we pick the render that doesn't have too much movement on it, it might eventually become dead. If it stops being updated, then we essentially take the burden of its maintenance, and maybe we'll have to switch render again, which we don't really want to do. So that will definitely help. And actually, that is one of our criteria for, picking a replacement. But again, there might be different ones. The whole point of this project is, figuring out what good choices there are, how well they fit things, and then we kind of balance everything and be okay, this is more important to us than this one, this is more important to this one. So we'll see what that process ends up coming up with. Good one to end out. Avalon the Hyena is asking, what's the best way for us users to be able to support you guys as team members and creators? Subscribe on Stripe, buy our merch. That's good. It's gonna help a lot.
That's the best way.
Yes.
But also to like and share the
Yes.
videos that are coming out, and then to help new players orientate, but don't overwhelm them with too much stuff. Just pull out fun stuff for them to do. Give them some toys.
Yes.
Teach them the hard stuff later.
Yeah, sometimes that's kind of good, where users come in is ask why they're here, what are they interested in, and focusing on that. It's also making good GitHub issues, making kind of good feedback. That helps us save a lot of work as well. And also, speaking of those videos, one thing I feel that would help us a lot that I feel doesn't happen nearly as much as we really need it to is share Resonite on social media. Make your own, shorts, showcase what is fun about Resonite, what do you like about it, make, record with video clip or, at least some screenshots and post about it, because that also helps, show other people who don't play Resonite regularly all the fun they can have on the platform and all the cool things that happen here, and that gets, more of them here. It makes more of them become supporters, and that also helps the platform as well. It helps us grow, and it helps the community grow. So all of those things help quite a bit. With that said, we're at time, so thank you everyone for joining the recap stream. Thank you for supporting us on, like whether it's on Patreon or Stripe, but if you can, switch to Stripe, please, because we get, even at the same level, we get more money out of it, which we can then invest into other things. And whether it's just, we were just playing the platform, being part of the community, making cool stuff, sharing about it, helping new users, really making issues, everything helps. Thank you so much, for doing it. And if you want to learn more, if they're have more questions, we have a number of other office hours. Check out our Discord. There's the events tab, and it has all the dates for the different office hours that are happening, so you can learn more about their Resonite's development. With that, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone here for helping with the recap stream, and I guess we'll see you soon. Somewhere in Resonite or another recap or office hours.
Come to the block party.
Oh, the block party, yes. Don't forget the block party. Announcement's gonna be going at some point. So, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.